Deep Space Nine. This is BlueBrixx Star Trek set 104583. It was released in July 2022 for about €200. This construction block set consists of 2,889 pieces, which are compatible to bricks by other building blocks companies like Lego, Kada, Kobe, Mega, and so on. BlueBrixx wasn't able to renew their licensing rights for the Star Trek franchise, and this means they are not producing any Star Trek sets any longer. And most of their huge Star Trek sets are sold out at this point. For some reason, it seems that people aren't really interested in this Deep Space Nine set. And because of that, you can still get it nowadays, at least at the moment of recording this video. It seems that the set is so unpopular that they have dropped the price for it several times, and now you can get the set for about €80. I think, if I remember correctly, I got this set in a sale last year and I paid about €70. This is not the only Deep Space Nine they have released, but it's the only one in this huge scale. I can't really remember if the other one was mid-size scale or mini scale, but it was something about 200 pieces. So the piece count would suggest that it's a mini scale model, but since you can see there is much air which we surround with our bricks, so it might be that 200 pieces also would make a mid-sized model. But we are talking here about this huge display model. Like all the other BlueBrixx Star Trek sets, it's a BlueBrixx Pro set, not a special set, so it comes with printed building instructions. But recently, BlueBrixx also have uploaded all instructions for all their Star Trek sets on their website, so in digital form, and this means we can also download the instructions as a PDF file. That's quite cool. Like all the other Pro sets, it comes in a colorful box, and like all the other Star Trek sets, it's manufactured by Xingbao. I guess it says so somewhere down here. Yeah, here you can read it. Manufactured by Xingbao. This means that the bricks might not look that well. Xingbao bricks often come with these ugly injection holes on the studs. But it seems that this build here doesn't really show a lot of studs. I think we are going to see some studs here, but most of the studs are covered, and here also some studs. But let's simply hope that we are not going to see that many injection holes. But we also have to know that this is quite an early BlueBrixx Star Trek set. It's not one of the first wave of sets, it already got another box design, but I think it's from the second wave. And we will have to see if back then the bricks were already good enough to be able to build this rather complex construction. We will see. Now, let's have a quick look at the box's backside, if there's anything interesting to see. There we get to see the completed build from different angles, and we can also see the stand to which the build is connected, and we get to see that the set comes with a little info plaque. Okay. Then let's open the box. Inside the huge box we find these two slightly smaller white boxes, named Box A and Box B. But we can't completely forget about this nomenclature because the bricks with the bags in them are not sorted to those boxes in any intelligent way. So we got numbered bags. For example, this bag here comes with the number 7, and normally you would think that all the bags with the number 7 all come in box A, for example, or in box B. But they do not. Some of those bags with the number 7 on them come in box A, and the others are placed in box B. So it doesn't matter at all what a box says. You have to open both boxes and simply empty them on the table and then search for all the bags which you need. Here we got the instructions, and when we open them, you can see that this set comes with 7 building sections. And those building sections are represented by those numbers on the bags. So each building section comes with several bags, and those bags contain bricks which are pre-sorted through this building section. Some of the bags come without number, like this one here, but I think it's quite easy to find out to which building section this belongs. This is probably part of the final building section when we are going to build the plaque. And then we also got this plate here, which does come without any bag. Okay. But I think more or less all of the other pieces come in bags, in numbered bags. I think it's quite funny that here in the back of the first building section we get a brick separator, and it's a typical Qingbao brick separator. It looks like a giraffe, and this is just something which is quite strange to have in a sci-fi set. It really looks like a piece from a kid's set. Well, but I won't complain. It's nice to have a brick separator. I guess I'm never going to use it. I prefer the Lego brick separators, but it's better to have a brick separator than none at all. Alright, I'm going to look for all the bags with the number 1 on them. Then I will get rid of all the other bags. I'm opening the bags with the number 1 on them. And then I will start with the first building section with step 1-1. I will come back to you as soon as I see something interesting or something simply doesn't work as shown in the instructions. Step 1-2. In the first building section we are building the build's stand, and some of the pieces we need for the stand are these hinge plates here. And I have to say, this is something Qingbao really can't do very well. Those things are always way too stiff. I think in the last Star Trek set that I did build, what was it? Was it a runabout? Yeah, in the runabout, there we have used hinge bricks, and those just were terribly stiff. Let's just hope that these stiff hinge plates will be less problematic than the stiff hinge bricks of the runabout. Step 1-8. This really becomes a Technic orgy. Have a look here, we have to place 42 of those Technic pins. Damn. Step 1-35. The instructions are slightly annoying. So, in this step we have to place this lift arm like this. And you can see that some of these pins here are normal pins, which is no problem to place them in these holes, but then we also get one of those pins of which one end is a Technic axle. And this Technic axle has to be placed in the right angle, otherwise you can't connect it with with this cross-shaped hole down here. And this is very annoying because often, or in some steps, we even have to connect two of these pin axle combinations at once. And yeah, you can imagine that the axles are not aligned perfectly the whole time. They sometimes sit in a slightly other angle, and then it's not possible to connect the lift arms. And this could have been avoided very easily. Why do we not connect those axle pieces to the lift arms like this? Oh, that's the wrong side. Like this. Oh, come on. So, next try. Like this. And now we use the whole thing to connect it to this bigger part of the build. That way it would be way easier and we wouldn't have to take care that all these axle parts are in the right angle. Very annoying. Step 1-42. One of the pieces which we are using in this step is a piece which, for example, the Lego company doesn't use. I showed you this piece in a lot of my other videos. The BlueBrixx company really loves to use this piece. It's a plate which comes with studs on both sides, so you can easily invert the stud direction, the building direction. Because of the studs on the underside, this plate is of course a bit thicker than normal plates. So of course the plate itself and the studs on top are exactly the same size, but of course the studs on the underside change the size of the whole thing slightly. Step 1-51. We have completed the first building section, and I think with that we also have completed the stand. It actually looks quite interesting. Alright, but now it's time to start with the space station itself in the second building section. Step 2-19. In this step we are placing these 1x2 plates with handlebars. And have a look at this. The one in the middle is in another shade of light bluish gray than the other two, isn't it? It's not as dark as dark bluish gray, but it's darker than the other light bluish gray pieces. Yeah, I guess the quality of the pieces really isn't the best, but so far the clutch power at least doesn't make any problems. Step 2-23. We have built 6 of these little segments here, and for each we have used 3 of those hinge plates. And because of the bad quality of the hinge plates, it wasn't really fun to build these segments. It wasn't difficult to build them, but I don't know, it just makes no fun when you see huge gaps the whole time. And yeah, it's not only that they are so stiff, it's also that they definitely do not have good tolerances. The tolerances are just a bit off, and because of that, there are, I don't know, they create gaps at positions where there shouldn't be any gaps. It's just not fun to build with them. I guess the segments work totally fine. I doubt that they will become a problem for the whole structure, but I really hope that I'm not going to have to use too many of those hinge plates for this build. But I fear I will. Steps 2-31 to 2-34. We are doing something quite strange in these steps. So first of all, once again, we have built such segments here. There are 3 of them. Here's one, and I have already attached the other 2 to the build. And yeah, once again, it wasn't fun to build those things. You can see that we have once again used 6 of these hinge plates for each of the segments, and just have a look at those gaps. It is really not fun working with pieces with such bad tolerances. In the end, somehow everything works out. Everything, the clutch power is strong enough, everything just keeps together, and somehow it works, but to get there just makes no fun. Everything just feels a bit strange. Well, but now we are doing something quite interesting. We're using a building technique which I haven't used before. I think it's a really clever building technique, but at the same time I don't think that I like this building technique. So have a look here what we have done here. We have created these docking areas. I don't know how you want to call it. But I'm talking now explicitly about these pieces over here. So here we got this toe ball, and then there's this piece. And we are not able to connect these 2 pieces with each other. Of course, there's no way to get this toe ball through this hole here. So the whole thing only stays in place, thanks to gravity, and just because it is jammed between the segment and the core of our space station. So you can see here's still a gap, and we add our segment to this gap like this. Now let's try to get it a bit better in place. And now we just place it somehow over here. I guess this is a job for 2 hands. So let me place the camera. I hope you can still see it. So this is pressed against the inner part of Deep Space Nine. And now at the same time we have to interlock our segment with the rest of the build. Like this. And now there is no way for this little piece to escape. And we can rotate it if we want to, but it just can't fall out. It's a clever building technique, but since there is nothing interlocked, I don't really like it. But it looks cool, I have to admit. Step 2-40. We have completed the second building section, and our build looks like this so far. A bit like a star. Now in the third building section, we are starting to add the outer ring. Step 3-11. In this step, we are building a bigger segment for the outer ring, and we are building it 3 times. And this means we are going to use more than 200 pieces in this single step. Those are all the pieces we are using in this step. Wow! Step 3-12. We have completed the third building section, and I think we also have reached the final width of our build, at least more or less. We are still going to build some segments in the next building sections which we are going to add to the outer ring, but this won't make it that much wider. So, after having finished this building section, I think one should pay attention that the ring really is round, so we should maybe simply adjust all these tiny segments a bit, that the gaps are all the same. And yeah, after that we can go on with building section number 4, in which it seems that we are building some segments which we will later add to the outer ring, I guess. Step 4-1, substep 1. In this step we are using two methods to invert the stud order. So the first method is simply to use this 1x1 plate with studs on both sides. It's a piece that the Lego company doesn't use. And yeah, we can simply interlock it with a piece where we want to turn the anti-stud into a regular stud. Like, oops. Give me a second, like this. But this means, of course, that we are losing some kind of space. When we place a plate there, then there is, of course, a plate, and not only the stud. But if we want to have only a stud without a plate, so we are not losing any space, then we can use something else. This here is a single stud, an only stud, a Kobe stud, an ironing bead, whatever you want to call it. And with the help of this bar here, which we use as a tool, we can turn the anti-stud into a regular stud. So we stick the bar in this only stud, and then we place it at the position of the anti-stud. We hold down the only stud with our fingernail, or with one of our fingernails, better said, and then at the same time we remove the tool. And now we have turned the anti-stud into a regular stud. And now it should be no problem to simply place stuff on top of it. For example, another plate. Like this. Step 4-15. We have completed building section number 4. And it's quite strange that these building sections only have got so few steps. The building section before had 12 steps, this here has 14 steps. But nevertheless, we are spending quite a lot of time with these few building steps, because we are doing everything several times, since yeah, this space station of course is symmetrically, and this means every side looks the same, so we simply do each step 3 times or more times. Alright, in this step we have built these 3 bigger segments, and you can see that they come with some kind of hinges. So here in the back we got ball joints, and here in the front this is simply a clip bar combination. And yeah, I'm happy that we got these kind of hinges, because the working with the hinge plates which came with this set never was fun in the first few building sections, so this year will be better. But so far we haven't connected those pieces to our build. This is something we will do in building section number 5, in which we are also going to build more, or at least similar, of these segments. Step 5-15, substep 1. we are building more and more of those segments and we are connecting them with each other. So you can see we are building these kind of worms. And these segments are connected with each other via these clip bar combinations, which I showed you before. And I think it might get important that we do this correctly, since we are adding all this to the outer ring of Deep Space Nine. And I guess when there are differences in how wide these gaps are, then maybe we will end with a misshaped Deep Space Nine. So I'm showing you how I'm doing the critical part of this clip bar combination. We have to stick in this clip in this 1x1 brick modified, but often the tolerances with these pieces aren't the best, so you need a lot of pressure to stick them in there. But I don't want to do it just half-heartedly with my fingers, and because of that I'm simply doing like this until I hear a plop sound, and then you can see that everything sits in here properly. And I think we just have to pay attention that all the clips sit properly in their brick modifieds. And this way, all the gaps here should be identical. Step 5-23. We have reached this building section's final step. We have completed all the segments of this building section, and now we have to add them to the outer ring. And well, I guess this might not be that easy, since we have to interlock a lot of stats. But luckily, these three big segments are consisting of a lot of little segments which are connected with each other via ball joints and these bar clip combinations. And maybe this helps a lot while attaching them. Well, we will see. Well, it's not a too pleasant procedure, but it's way easier than I feared. We simply have to pay attention that we interlock one part of the segment after the other. So I start from the left, then I try to align it, then I interlock it, and then I go on with the next segment like this, or with the next sub-segment, and so on. Oh, here it's even way more easygoing than with the first bigger segment. But nevertheless, it's something I should do with two hands. So you can see the first four sub-segments could be interlocked very easily, but now I have problems with the fifth one. But when I wobble around a long time, at some time it should just fall into place, and then everything should be fine. Another help is to pull and push the segments of the outer ring itself a bit. And when you combine this with wobbling around with the bigger segments, or with the sub-segments, better said, then it really shouldn't be that difficult to do everything here. See, when you do it like this, and then you pull this part a bit more towards you. You just have to look here on the underside that the studs interlock correctly or are aligned correctly with the anti-studs, and then it's really not a big deal. And so on. Alright, I have added all the segments to the outer ring, and now we really start to see a cool space station. In the next building section, in building section number 6, we are adding this circular thing to our stand, and yeah, we are also adding some more segments. Step 6-12. We are connecting this segment here with the underside of Deep Space Nine. So you can see that we got this Technic axle here, and then somewhere down here in the center there is supposed to be an axle hole there. And yeah, we stick the segment in here. Let's see. But now you can see that we can't stick the axle all the way in, because yeah, Deep Space Nine is lying flat on the table, so I guess I should hold it with one hand and then stick the segment or the Technic axle all the way through. But I think now it's time to get the stand. This makes things just easier. When we have a look at the next step, you can see that we also are going to build stuff which we later going to add at the top of Deep Space Nine, and only after that they introduce us to the stand. But I think it makes things way easier if we start to use the stand right now. So, I have placed the space station on its stand, and I think so far it looks quite fine. I'm a bit afraid that these huge segments here start to sag in the middle. So I think there is no problem where they are connected to these bridges, these three, but I'm not quite sure if the middle part here isn't slightly sagging. I think it's alright. It's such a huge build. Maybe over time it will sag slightly, but it seems for now it's alright. We will have to see once we have completed the build, when we have added the pylons, when there is more weight on it, if it sags then. But I guess the pylons are... where are they? Yeah, here. They are on top and below of those bridges, so this shouldn't be a problem for these huge segments here. So there isn't supposed to get any more weight on the middle part of those segments. I guess it will be fine. We will see. Step 6-20, Substep 1. This is a quite interesting step. We are using once again these single studs, and this time we place them in those holes here. You know, those holes of these, what are those? 2x3 plates with a rounded side. And yeah, I have never done that before. You can see I just have placed the first of those single studs, and now I'm also going to fill in the other hole here. Step 6-23. I think I just have added the docking ports. So there's one on each bridge. And with that, we have completed building section number 6. This means it's time for the final building section number 7, in which we are building the huge pylons and the plaque. Step 7-18. We have created the lower parts of the pylons, and now we have to add them to our space station. To be precise, we have to connect them with these bigger docking ports. You can see that I already have added one of those pylon parts to this docking port here. The thing is, sadly, the tolerances of the Technic axles used here aren't the best, so it's not so easy to slide them simply in here. I would recommend to detach the docking port, and then you should be able to put a lot of pressure on them with the Technic axles like this without destroying the main build. You really have to press hard to do this. And I think once you have reached this point, the easiest way to continue is to use one of these plates with the holes in them and put them on top of here so that the axles can peek through the holes. And then just go on with pushing. I also would recommend to do this with 2 hands. It's not so easy to do it with just 1 hand, but here you can see what my plan is. It starts to work. Yeah, just like this. So then next I would use this part here, which I accidentally ripped off here, and add it to the underside of our build. But let me place the camera before so that I can use both of my hands. Come on, get in there. Oh, please interlock. Okay, I think I have placed the little segment at the right position now. And now we can go on with the big part. We have to push upwards to interlock the segment which we have placed before, and then we have to push from the side to connect the docking bay with the outer ring. Alright, I have added 2 of the pylons, at least the lower parts of the pylons, and I have to do the same thing now a 3rd time. Step 7-38. We are done with building Deep Space Nine itself, but as you can see, there are still a few pieces left. So, we still have to build this tiny Defiant here and also the plaque. Step 7-47. We are also done with building the tiny Defiant, and I have to say this is a quite clever build. I think it's very cool that with so few pieces we get a recognizable Defiant. the shape is well done. That's really clever. All right, so we are connecting now the defined to this docking port here. And now the only thing left to do is to build the plaque. Step 7-57. With completing the info plaque, we also have assembled the whole set. But before we are going to talk about the space station itself, let's just have a quick look at the plaque. So yeah, you can see we got these two huge printed tiles, which we can adjust if you prefer to display it like this or like that. And yeah, on one side we get to see this Starfleet emblem, or yeah, this Starfleet badge, just like the Deep Space Nine crew wears it, you know, their communicators. And on the other side, we get to see the logo of the Deep Space Nine TV series. And yeah, we get, of course, to know that the space station was called Deep Space Nine, and then we get to see here this little representation of the space station. The only information we get about the space station itself, besides its name, is that it has got a diameter of about 1.5 kilometers. Sadly, there is no other data listed here, so yeah, that's a bit sad. And this is the reason why I don't really care much about the plaque. I really like the prints, those are perfect quality, but I don't know. I don't really have a use case for this plaque. I don't need it. I only need the space station. And it really looks cool. I think they have recreated the shape of Deep Space Nine perfectly. You can clearly see that this is supposed to be Deep Space Nine. And it's a huge build, which comes with quite a lot of details. I think it's a matter of taste if you like this model. I guess not everyone likes this style of Cardassian space stations, but it looks cool and it's really huge. Let's have a look at the details. So I guess we should start with the core. So up here we got this little antenna. Yeah, I think this is supposed to be the communication array. And below that we got the ops module, you know, where the bridge is, and I think also Cisco's office is located there. Below that we got this propeller here, and my guess is that this is supposed to be the deflector shield emitter. And then below that we get the promenade, and yeah, this is really a place which we get to see quite often in the series. You know, it locates Quark's bar and Bashir's little hospital and stuff like that. Well, then let's go down. We are still looking at the core. And yeah, here there are the power transfer conduits, and below that, I think this is the main fusion reactor. Then let's go up again, because here it's not so dark. So then let's get over here. This is the habitat ring. you know, where the crew lives, and I think there are also several bays for the runabouts, and I guess also the Deep Space Nine guests live there, and so on. Yeah, attached to the habitat ring is or are these defensive weapon sail towers. These are really 6 pylons. So one here, another one there, one here, other one below, and also here in the back. Then we can follow these bridges here, which connect the core with the habitat ring, and also the docking ring. I think these bridges house turbo lift corridors and stuff like that. Maybe you can also walk. I don't know. I can't remember. Well, let's go on with the docking ring. So this, of course, is the biggest ring of the space station, and it comes with a lot of docking ports. So you can see here we got these secondary docking ports. Those are a bit smaller, and they are always located opposite to these little, how can we call this? Cargo storage base, I guess. Then we also got the primary docking ports. Those are way bigger. And we find them at the position of these huge pylons. And as you can see, to one of the primary docking ports, there is this little Defiant attached, which we can quite easily detach if we want to. Oops, yeah, of course I broke it. I'm just too clumsy for stuff like that. So let's reattach this docking port here. All right. And here we got the tiny Defiant. It's really cute. Okay, what else can we say about the docking ring? Of course, we have to talk about the pylons. So, those are the huge docking pylons, and there's of course an upper. Well, let's show it here. There's of course an upper docking pylon port, and also a lower docking port. Those are used for the huge ships like, I don't know, the Galaxy class. I think in the first episode of Deep Space Nine, the Enterprise was docked to one of the pylons. And next to these ports, there are also these little, let's call them control cabins or observation cabins. And I think that's more or less all which we can say about the docking, the space station itself. But of course, we also have to mention the stand on which Deep Space Nine is placed. And it's a quite cool technic construction, which totally does the job. The space station only sits on the stand. It isn't really connected, so we can detach it, or better said, we can just lift it, and this should detach the whole thing. like this. So this means you could also place or hang Deep Space Nine from the ceiling if you wanted to. The stand isn't really necessary, but of course, when you want to display it on your shelf or something like that, then the stand is necessary. Let me just put down the camera for a second because I guess it's easier to relocate it on the stand once again when I'm using two hands. Alright, Deep Space Nine is placed on its stand again. I think the build looks great, but I can also understand that not everybody likes the looks of such a BlueBrixx built space station. It looks rather filigree, there's so much enclosed air in the build, and due to the sheer size and strange shape, we also need a rather prominent stand. I guess this is something many people do not like. You also have to find a fitting spot where to place this huge build. All of this reminds me a bit of LEGO's UCS Death Star 2. The build isn't a playset, it's a huge display set, but it is way more sturdy than it looks like. I'm not afraid that I might break it when I touch it, but just like the Death Star 2, it wobbles a bit when... Yeah, it wobbles a bit on its stand when we touch it. But I think it's not so bad as it was with the Death Star 2. And unlike the Death Star 2, Deep Space Nine and its stand are two builds, and so we can detach both from each other, and I think that's definitely an advantage. Building the whole thing was alright in most parts. It might not be the most entertaining building process since it can get quite repetitive when you are mass producing identical segments, but I think this is obvious before you buy the set. The space station looks just the same from every side, so this should be clear that the building process might get quite monotonous. I did not have much fun with the first building section in which we did build the Technic stand, but that might simply be my personal problem. I prefer system bricks and I have never really been much into Technic bricks. Technic constructions are just necessary when you want to build something of this size, so I have to live with it. It was also slightly. I was also slightly annoyed by the second building section in which we did build the core. That was because of the huge amount of rather low quality hinge plates that we used here. In the end, they do the job totally fine. The construction is not affected negatively. It is sturdy. But for some reason, I had not much fun handling them. They just, I don't know, they just feel cheap. Yeah, all the following building sections were totally fine. Assembling the set wasn't difficult. Possibly it's nothing for beginners, but you don't have to be an expert either. Maybe there are 2 or 3 steps with tricky building techniques, but if you stay patient, you should be able to manage them. As I said before, the Xingbao bricks used in the set are not of the best quality and do not have perfect tolerances, especially the hinge plates stand out negatively. But the clutch power is fine. You can interlock all the bricks. For this set, they are totally fine. The build is sturdy. Maybe because of the bad tolerances, I wouldn't use them for complex mocks, but for this build, they are sufficient. Only these very visible injection holes on eyesore. Here, for example, have a look at all those ingots. And also, when we have a look at these studs over there, there we can see rather huge injection holes. But luckily, more or less all the other studs which come with those injection holes are covered. So yeah, the most ugly part is just that we see all these ingots here. Oh, and of course, once again, we used several pieces which are still protected by the Lego company. But I guess this is okay. It is rumored that BlueBrixx has some kind of deal with the Lego company, which allows them to use these pieces without getting into trouble, without getting sued. Both are European companies, and yeah, this means BlueBrixx can't just ignore such things. Well, all in all, I think this is a cool set. The huge display DS9 might not be a fan favorite, but I think there's definitely a raison d'etre for this building block's space station.